UFC London, Edwards versus Brady takes place this Saturday. I'm Dino Bam Bam. I've got your quick picks coming up. Stay right here. What is going on, guys? Dino Bam Bam here with the 10-7 MMA. Happy to be back in your lives with another quick picks. Now, I know we got a lot of new subs this last week. We're almost at that 1,000. So for those of you that are new, welcome to the channel. And this is the quick picks video, okay? What we do here is we don't get super in depth. We just kind of break down each fighter, a little bit about him, a little bit about the opponent. I give you my prediction, and we move on, and we try to coast through this shit in less than 30 minutes, generally speaking, right? So to those of you that are new, again, thank you for joining in. For those of you that are watching for the first time, do like the thing at the bottom says, hit that like and subscribe button. It would mean the world to me and my boy DS, who operates this channel with me. We're trying to get to 1,000, okay? So help us get there. We're hoping to get there by the Volkanovski and Diego Lopez card. Fingers crossed, I think we will. All righty, one more thing. Follow us on Instagram at the107MMA. The thing's not working. Like the shit at the bottom says, we got pictures with us and fighters, some of which are from this card. So go check us out on Instagram. Anyways, guys, let's not waste more fucking time, okay? Let's get straight into it. This is the quick picks. This is how we do it. First fight of the night, we've got Guram Kutateladze, and he is taking on Cowie Fernandez. Guram, guys, you guys already know, right? A Georgian, well-rounded striker, good background in kickboxing, strong Muay Thai, a guy that was a hell of a prospect just a couple years back. This was one of the guys that we anticipated being in that top 5 by now, right? As Gaethje and Poirier and Michael Chandler and Dan Hooker and Charles Oliveira kind of started getting phased out, we assumed that it would be these new guys, the Arman Sarukian, who, great on him. He's gotten there. But we expected Guram to kind of be in that, in that same area, and he's not. Unfortunately, some injuries, some poor performances. But anyways, the guy was an absolute beast. He still is. But now there's more question marks than we used to have. Is his chin that good? It's been cracked a little bit. I don't know that he can take the damage that he once used to. But he is really damn talented, guys. Mixes up everything very damn well. Super good timing. He's taking on Cowie Fernandez, a very, very dangerous fighter, a finisher with knockout power, a super aggressive approach, another guy with a Muay Thai base. So we're going to have two primarily strikers going at it here. This guy does great with the pressure, great in the clinch, good knees, good elbows. His grappling, it's improving, guys. It's something that is not natural to him. You can tell, but it is something that he's working on and improving. Look, I'm going to go crazy off the rip here, guys. I'm going Cowie Fernandez. I think he's got a shit ton of power. And while I love Guram Kutateladze, I just don't know that his chin can handle it anymore. He hasn't been as active as I would like him to be. In the last few times he's looked, like he's lost a step. Even though he did win that last fight against Jordan Vucenic, he looked like he was in a lot of trouble, before winning the fight ultimately. So give me Cowie Fernandez. I'm going to go by decision or maybe a late knockout. I guess I could see that happening. Yeah, I'm worried for Guram, but I like the Cowie Fernandez pick. Moving on to the next fight of the night, we've got Keelan Loughran, and he is taking on Nathan Fletcher. Guys, Keelan Loughran, relentless pressure fighter, short, stocky, fun fighter, right? He's Irish, he's loud, he's got some fucking good power, he keeps the pressure going, good boxing, great dirty boxing. The grappling is solid. You wouldn't expect this guy to have a lot of grappling, but he does, and he's got some good ground and pound. He threatens submissions when he's down there. Solid overall fighter. He's taking on Nathan Fletcher, very well-rounded fighter, great submission game, constantly improving his striking as well. So he's a grappler, but the striking is, it's coming into his own. He prefers to fight at range when he is on the feet. He keeps distance, and I think that's going to fare well for him here against the shorter, stockier guy in Keelan Loughran. Here's how I see it. I think Nathan Fletcher is going to go for takedowns early and often. I think he's going to end up getting some. And I really do believe this is his fight to lose. I'm not the biggest fan of Keelan Loughran. I get it. There's some hype behind his name. He's Irish. He's loud, right? Everyone thinks Conor McGregor right away. I just don't love Keelan Loughran. I don't think he's very long for the UFC, but he is dangerous. So give me Nate Fletcher. I'll go by decision. Yeah. Let's move on to the next fight of the night. We've got Mama Shauna Bannon, and she is taking on Pooja Tomar. This is a very low-level women's MMA fight, guys. I'm not going to sit here and fucking sugarcoat it. Shauna Bannon, she's a long-bodied striker. She's solid. You know, she moves forward, decent pressure. Really nothing else. She's tough. She's down to brawl. She's willing to bang it out at all times. Takedown defense is absolutely non-existent. Not that I think she'll need it in this fight, because she's taking on Pooja Tomar, who is a fast striker. She's really goddamn aggressive. She likes to move forward. She throws pretty big. That's really it, right? Not too much in terms of technique, not too much in terms of, you know, raw talent, to be honest with you. Just sort of a physical, shorter striker. I don't see a finish in this fight. I don't think either one of these ladies has what it takes to put the other one out, so it is going to decision. Now, the question is, I know this fight's going to be close, right? Or at least I think I do. And if it's close, what are the judges going to be leaning towards, right? Again, I did mention we're in London, so you always got to take the home crowd into, you know, the hometown in your thought process when it comes to these close decisions. Are they going to give it to Shauna Bannon, who's the quote-unquote home fighter? Or are they going to give it to Pooja Tomar, who is really the only Indian, I guess, besides Anshul Jubli, that are in the UFC? She's the only UFC women's Indian fighter of all time. And that's a huge market that the UFC's been going after. Remember, they were trying to go to India last year. It didn't end up happening. I'll go with Shauna Bannon. I think they probably give her a close decision, but I think it'll be super damn close. Shauna Bannon by split decision. Please do not fucking bet on low-level women's MMA. Now, next fight of the night, guys, we've got CLD, Christian Leroy Duncan, and he is taking on Andre Puliev. Puliev coming to us from Dancing with the Stars, Dana White's Contender Series, right? Solid, patient striker, good jab. Does a good job at staying at range, being technical. There's just not a lot of power behind anything that he throws, right? Everything is tight. Like, don't get me wrong. It's tight. It's technical. It's just not thrown with any sort of like malicious intent. He doesn't look like he's ever going for a finish on the feet. Now, you see his last name, you see Puliev, and you're thinking, holy shit, this guy must be a beast wrestler. He's not Dagestani, but he is Russian, right? So he does have some decent wrestling, but it's not dominant by any means. He's taking on CLD, Christian Leroy Duncan. We talk a lot about hype when we get into these themed cards, right? We go to London, we go to Paris, we go to Abu Dhabi. There's a lot of hype behind some of the hometown prospects that they put on these cards. And Christian Leroy Duncan was a guy that came in with a shit ton of hype. He's shown flashes in the UFC of the hype that he had pre-UFC, but he does have some losses, right? In his wins, he looks phenomenal. In his losses, he looks, you know, kind of like slow and outpaced. Look, I think CLD is an unbelievable striker. I think he's the better striker of the two by far. He's flashy, he's fast, he's unorthodox, he has crazy-ass power. He's creative as shit on the feet, and he's okay wrestling offensively. Defensively wrestling, he kind of struggles. I just don't know that we get there. I don't think Puliev's really going to be going for the wrestling. I think this fight stays on the feet. And even if Puliev does want to implement his wrestling, CLD's not going to have to worry about the power coming back to him. So he's going to be able to defend that a lot better, in my opinion. I think a lot of this fight takes place on the feet, and CLD eventually finds himself a knockout. I'm going Christian Leroy Duncan by knockout round 2, and he's going to get the fucking crowd going. Now, next fight of the night to me is very damn interesting. We got the big boys. We got Marcin Tybura taking on the undefeated Mick Pockin. All right. I don't want to spend too much time on this fight, guys, right? We know what it is with Marcin Tybura. He's a veteran. He's tough as shit. He's gritty. He's well-rounded. He's a great grappler, good submission skills, and solid enough on the feet. He's been a mainstay in this top 15, this top 10 for a long time. And at this age, he's sort of a gatekeeper, right? But I don't mean that in any offensive way. He's a gatekeeper, but he's been putting back a lot of these prospects. He's a little slower than before, and that kind of worries me in this one. He's facing the undefeated Mick Parkin. Now, Mick Parkin, not my favorite prospect. If you guys have been watching this show for, you know, or this channel for a while, you'll know that not into really any of these heavyweight prospects, especially Mick Parkin. He just never really, you know, fucking tickled my fancy or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Just a guy that I think is slightly overrated. Yes, he's big, but he's slow. He's patient. He doesn't have too much power. His grappling is solid. His jiu-jitsu solid, but he's really just not a finisher. And to me, if you're going to be fighting at heavyweight in the UFC and you want to make a run towards the title, you have to be a finisher. You have to be able to put these guys out, because if you don't, there's a good chance that they're going to put your ass out. So look, I imagine like when I first saw this fight, I figured the odds would be, you know, a little wider than this. If they were, I would definitely be betting on Marcin Tybura. I think this fight's 50-50. I really do. Zero confidence. I'm going with Mick Parkin, but I don't hate anyone going with Marcin Tybura. He does have a tendency to knock back some of these prospects, and it could be the case here. I just imagine, though, again, if it's close and we get to the judges, that they're going to want to give it to the young guy, the hometown guy, the undefeated guy. The UFC is really trying to reset, especially in the heavyweight division, right? We've seen that with some of the matchups they're putting on, Curtis Blades and the fucking new guy and all that kind of shit. So give me Mick Parkin. If he does win this fight, I think this is really kind of his limit. I don't know who they're going to match him up with next, but I don't like his matchups against really anybody ahead of Marcin Tybura in the rankings. Now, we move on to the next fight, and we've got Loner Kavanagh, and he's taking on Shoot the Box Diego Lima's own Felipe Dos Santos. Guys, two very, very young, explosive prospects here. Let's start with Loner Kavanagh. He's the British fighter, right? So he's super goddamn good, guys. He's fast. He's explosive. He has a fucking look to him. He looks the part. Great speed, great power, great cardio. Like I said, young as shit. Guys, in his debut, he looked a little like kind of starstruck, like maybe the lights were a little too big for him, but he fucking figured it out and won the fight. To me, this is a kid that I can't pick against until he gives me reason to pick against him, right? He's taking on Felipe Dos Santos. You guys know I love me some shoot the box Diego Lima, but he's kind of the cliche at this point, right? He's like all those guys. He's young as shit, young, dumb, and full of cum, basically, right? He's explosive as fuck. He's coming out there and he's able to, he's coming out there to finish the fight, and he's coming super goddamn aggressive, and he has finishing ability on the feet and on the ground. Super dangerous anywhere the fight goes, but his gas tank just runs out super goddamn quick, and that's a huge problem. It constantly fails him. Now, if he can go out there and get himself a finish early, that's a way to win this fight. Besides that, I cannot see a world where he's going to beat Loner Kavanagh, I guess, unless Loner Kavanagh's fraud checked, right? So again, I'm not stupidly confident in it, but I can't pick against Loner Kavanagh. I'll be rooting for Felipe Dos Santos. I hold it down for the shoot the box guys. I just can't pick against this kid. I like him by late finish here. I think Felipe Dos Santos does the Felipe Dos Santos thing. He comes out, he's hot, he's dangerous, and Loner Kavanagh is going to be really smart and kind of just try to avoid him for the first 5-6 minutes of this fight. Then once we hit that round 2, he's going to turn up the pressure, and I think eventually finds himself a finish late. Maybe a decision, more than likely a decision. Dos Santos is young. He's the younger fighter, believe it or not. But yeah, I'll take Loner Kavanagh money line, but definitely, that's what we're doing. We're going fucking money line. I don't know what I'm talking about. Loner Kavanagh decision. Next fight of the fucking night. Jai Herbert, and he has taken on Chris Padilla. Now, speaking of prospects that I never really got into, Jai Herbert, a long body technical striker, guys, does a great fucking job with his jab, right? He keeps the fight at distance, keeps the fight at range really well, solid power, great footwork, good movement. His striking is very, very pretty. Sometimes, though, he can just be a little bit gun-shy for my liking. Not a little bit, actually. He gets very gun-shy at moments. Yes, it's worked out for him most of the time. He tends to win most of his fights, but I don't love that shit. And he's taking on Chris Padilla, who's kind of the opposite, right? His shit's not going to be very pretty. He's not a very pretty striker. He's just an aggressive, head down, fucking always moving forward, grinder, aggressive, high pressure, tough and gritty, great fucking chin. He's willing to exchange to get into range, and he's going to need to do that against a taller opponent here. Now, I know Jai Herbert is the closest we've seen anybody to beating Ilia Topuria, right? Of course, with that head kick that he dropped him with. But it's just a guy that I never really believed in, man. We've seen him chinned, of course, again, I guess by Topuria. And similar to his teammate, Leon Edwards, a guy that kind of just gives up on himself sometimes, right? We see him just kind of, like I said, get gun shy and just get into his own head and just kind of withdraw himself from the situation. I'm going to take Padilla, man. I'm surprised that these odds are, basically a pick 'em here. I'm going Padilla TKO ground and pound round 3. I think he's just going to wear down Jai Herbert. And Jai Herbert late in fights is very different than Jai Herbert early in fights. He tends to fucking just kind of cower. And I don't mean that in a shitty way. Who the fuck am I? I'm just picking Chris Padilla, guys. That's what I'm doing. Now, we move on to Nathaniel Wood, and he is taking on Morgan Charrier. This is a badass fucking fight. This could be fight of the night. Nathaniel Wood, a solid striker, good power, loves to get into the pocket, does a great job with dirty boxing, good leg kicks, of course, great wrestling, and he attempts to use that wrestling in every one of his fights. He's got good sub skills as well. People think of him as a striker, but we've seen him wrestle a lot, and I like that from Nathaniel Wood. He stays very busy, puts out, good pressure and just tons of volume, and I like it. There isn't too much to hate about Nathaniel Wood. He's taken on Morgan Charrier. Now, if you guys have been watching for a while, I don't really like most of these French fighters, right? I don't like that Sabat style. I don't like that slow-paced, kind of fucking very defensive, bitch-ass style. Let's just call it that. But Morgan Charrier is not that. Is he patient? Of course he is, but he's a super explosive striker, great range control, super goddamn fast as he steps in and out of the pocket. And what I love about him is he's very, his defense isn't, just constantly backing away. He's down to fight. He's going to be a very fun, aggressive fighter, but still stays defensively sound. He gets in and out really goddamn quick. When he steps out, he's just out of range of all the shots. When he steps in, he loves to get into the clinch. Does a lot of great work there up against the cage. Great knees, great elbows. The dude's fun, man, and he just has a knack of shutting his opponent's game plan down. And I love that for Morgan Charrier. I think if Nathaniel Wood wants to win this fight, he's going to need to get some takedowns. I think that's easier said than done. But if he can do that early, then he could definitely beat Morgan Charrier. I just don't think that he can. I think very highly of Morgan Charrier. He's won me over. He's too defensively responsible to get cracked by something big. And if we're having a point fight, I think he's going to win the point fight. So can Nathaniel Wood win a questionable decision? Probably. But I got to trust what I've seen on tape. And I'm going Morgan Charrier by UD. We move on to Jordan Vucenic, guys, versus Chris Duncan. Jordan Vucenic, a prospect that the UK loves. I mean, if you guys watch Cage Warriors at all, this kid has been the talk of the fucking town, and he's fun. He's a well-rounded fighter, guys. Great cardio. Nothing really sticks out to me about Jordan Vucenic in terms of wow, that is a fucking attribute that nobody has, or, that is super high level. He's just kind of very good everywhere. He's down to brawl. The kid is tough as shit. He's shown that he's durable. He's going to have the crowd 1,000,000% behind him in this fight. And last time out in his UFC debut, yes, he lost the fight. But remember, that was on short notice. And, it was a very, very tough fight for the kid. But his cardio looked a bit worrisome there. But again, short notice, up a weight class. I don't expect that to be the case this time. He's taking on Chris Duncan, a guy that loves to just get his fucking ass whooped early in fights. Fucking pull his balls out, drop him on the fucking table, show that he's more of a man than you, survive that shit, come back and fuck you up. That's kind of Chris Duncan's whole story, right? Good striker. I mentioned good fucking power. He's just hittable, man. I just don't love that about him. He's fun. He's aggressive. He's willing to brawl. He's entertaining, but he fights with his hands so goddamn low, and he is so damn hittable. The takedowns are okay. It's not really what he's looking for. He's more of a stand and bang kind of fighter. And yes, he's tough, and yes, he can take an ass whooping, but really you don't have a choice but to take Jordan Vucenic in this one. I think it's going to be a typical Duncan fight. I think Vucenic is going to come out aggressive with the crowd behind him. I think he's going to hurt Duncan early. I think Duncan's going to survive. He's going to turn up the volume as we kind of get later into the fight. Might start hurting Jordan Vucenic, but ultimately I don't think Vucenic is going to fade like we saw him fade last time out. And I think he's going to do enough early in this fight to secure the first 2 rounds and win himself a decision. So I'm going Jordan Vucenic here by decision. And just a heads up, right? If you're kind of a conspiracy theorist, or, you think Vegas has a part to do with any of these things, I would be careful betting him. I'm assuming Jordan Vucenic is probably going to be amongst the highest bet guys on this card, especially in parlays. So beware of that. I'm definitely not going to be betting him at this price at minus 455, but I do think he wins the fight. We move on to Meatball Molly McCann taking on Alexia Tainara. Now, Tainara was just brought in on 2 weeks' notice, something like that, a week and a half to fight Meatball Molly here. And weird as shit, the odds have changed dramatically in this fight. Molly was a huge favorite when this fight got announced, she was like minus 300 or some shit like that. Odds end up flipping, and now Alexa Tainara is a sizable favorite. So it is what it is, guys. Meatball Molly, we know her deal. She's fun. She's entertaining. She's going to talk to the crowd. And every fucking once a year, once every 2 years, she's going to give you a highlight reel for the ages. But when it all is said and done, Meatball Molly is a very average fighter, guys. She's okay. She's pretty well-rounded. She's tough as shit for sure. But we've seen holes in her game, and she's taken on Alexa Tainara, who is a super long-bodied striker. She's really damn aggressive. She throws everything super wide, super loopy, but she throws it with 100%, confidence and 100% effort. She throws everything into every goddamn punch, so she is hittable on the counter. To me, what I'm seeing here is Meatball Molly at dog prices versus a relatively unknown coming into the UFC on her debut, and she's kind of the prototypical girl that Meatball Molly knocks out, right? Again, she's long-bodied, she throws huge, but she's susceptible to being cracked on the way back, and her power isn't really anything that I'm afraid of for Molly McCann. I think Molly would be able to stand with her, bang with her, exchange, and if they both land, I do believe that Meatball Molly is going to be the tougher fighter and be able to absorb more damage. Crazy to me. I don't love picking Meatball Molly McCann, but plus 164, again, like I said, against a girl that really nobody fucking knows about, and she's really not that good, guys. I have no choice but to pick Meatball Molly. I'm comfortable with 164. I'm probably going to be betting that as well. And what I love here is a parlay with that and this fight, because what I'm seeing is Kevin Holland at dog prices. Now, I know Kevin Holland's stock is at an all-time low, right? Especially, over, let's call it a 5-year low, right? Since the pandemic, because pandemic Kev was something fucking crazy. But plus 110 against Gunnar Nelson, guys, that's fucking disrespectful and a little wild to me. I love Gunnar Nelson. I get it. I know he's good. I know that he's fought some of the best, but he's lost to the best of the best, right? He's one of those guys. Let's not give him let's be careful giving people more credit than they deserve off of losses, right? That's a huge thing. So look, Kevin Holland, yes, he was taken down by Ranier de Ritter. Yes, he was dominated, pretty quickly in that fight. But guys, RDR is a fucking unit. That guy is big as shit. And this is Kevin Holland back down at 170. That was at 185 versus a guy that's naturally bigger than Kevin Holland. This is down at 170 where Kevin Holland is going to be the bigger fighter. Now, yes, if Gunnar Nelson can get this fight down to the ground and find some control, can he sub Kevin Holland? 1,000,000,000 fucking percent he can. And that's the risk that's always built into these kind of fights, right? But I just don't see shit on the feet from Gunnar Nelson that's going to threaten Kevin Holland at all. I think if Kevin Holland stays at range and just looks for one kill shot, I think he's going to find it. So this is screaming Kevin Holland first round knockout to me, and I will be parlaying Kevin Holland by knockout with Meatball Molly. And I'm confident that shit's hitting. So I'm betting that. Kevin Holland, first round knockout. I know it's wild in the Big 25 to be betting Kevin Holland, but what are you going to do, man? Gunnar Nelson, one-dimensional, and I think those days are past us, guys. I think the days of, the Mayas and what's his fucking name? We just saw him. Ryan Hall, who was in the corner this last weekend. I think those days are gone. And Gunnar Nelson, yes, he's a little more well-rounded than those guys, but at the end of the day, he's kind of like the boss of those guys. So Kevin Holland by knockout, I think it's free fucking cheese. We move on to the co-main event of the evening, and this is an absolute fucking banger. This is a very, very interesting fight. This has title implications fucking surrounding it. It's the former champion, Polish Power, Jan Blachowicz taking on Carlos Blackjack Ulberg. Guys, Jan Blachowicz, the former champion, making his return here after almost 2 years. Now let's think about it, okay? 2 years ago, we saw him versus Alex Pereira, and that was his last fight. Since then, we've had the entire fucking run of Alex Pereira from beginning to end with Ankalaev fucking beating him, and we're finally getting Jan Blachowicz back. Jan Blachowicz arguably won that fight against Alex Pereira. Super weird how the fucking world works, but here we are. He's finally back. Great fighter. Super well-rounded. Of course, he has that legendary Polish power and all that fucking shit. The only legitimate questions surrounding Jan Blachowicz, I mean, there's a couple, right? And really they're associated, besides the ring rust, missing 2 years, it's associated with his age. He's 42 years old now. Is he slower? Probably. Is the power starting to fade? You would assume, right? The power is the last thing to go. And Jan Blachowicz hasn't had a win in a while now. It's been a couple of years. He didn't win that fight against Alex technically. He's taking on Carlos Ulberg, 11-1. Blackjack Carlos Ulberg coming off of a decision win versus the always tough Volkan Oezdemir. He's a very, very high-level kickboxer, guy. Some fucking serious power. Big dude. Has a look to him, and I can see the UFC wanting to push this kid versus, to get to that title shot versus Magomed Ankalaev at some point. I'm not saying it's next or, it might be. Who knows? But the UFC is going to want this kid. He's a good-looking kid. He's fucking exciting. He's knocking everybody out. Now, his only loss on his record came to my boy, Kennedy Nzechukwu, in a super, super weird fight. It started out like you would expect that fight to start out. Ulberg kind of just putting fucking belt to ass on Kennedy, and Kennedy doing the Kennedy thing, kind of being chinny and kind of getting hurt. But he survived, man. Kennedy survived that shit, and then all of a sudden turns up the pressure, starts fucking Ulberg up, and puts his ass out. Super goddamn crazy fight. That was a while back at this point, and since then, Ulberg's looked great. But the Volkan Oezdemir fight, besides that loss, was kind of his worst performance. Now, it makes sense, right? It's the best opponent he's faced in terms of like name, skill level, but he didn't look so damn good against Volkan Oezdemir, and that kind of worries me. If you look at the odds, Vegas is basically saying Carlos Ulberg by decision in this fight. I'm going to have to agree, right? I would love for Jan Blachowicz to win this fight. I am a huge Polish power fan. I'm going to be rooting for him. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if he wins this fight. I don't love these odds. They kind of surprised me. Basically, minus 300 for Carlos Ulberg. I think he does win a decision. I can't pick Jan Blachowicz, a guy that's 42, that's been out for 2 years, and you just can't pick him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wins. I think overall he is the better fighter than Carlos Ulberg, especially if he mixes in some grappling. That'll be interesting. Sorry for the hard cut, guys. We've got the main event of the evening. Leon Rocky Edwards taking on Sean Brady. Two guys whose last losses came to the current champion, Belal Muhammad, in two fights that were, a bit similar, but I guess different as well, right? Belal dominated both of those fights against Leon. He used a good mixture of pressure and wrestling to dominate Leon Edwards. And against Sean Brady, Belal dominated him mostly on the feet. Now, when it comes to Belal Muhammad, guys, right, I'm not going to shit on Belal here. He is the world champion right now. And there's a thing that Belal Muhammad does that would benefit a lot of fighters in the promotion, in MMA in general, and that's sticking to a goddamn game plan. Belal Muhammad, a very cerebral fighter. He finds his opponent's weaknesses and he goes after them, and he exploited both of these guys' weaknesses. Now, let's talk about those weaknesses. When it comes to Leon Edwards, it's a couple things, right? He was expecting Belal Muhammad to come out there and just be a very aggressive wrestler and be afraid of his striking. What did Belal Muhammad do? Yes, of course, he mixed in the wrestling, but he stayed very pressure heavy on the feet, not allowing Leon the distance that he needed to, to kind of get off on him, crowded him, and then just fucked him up, guys. Crowded him, and that fucked him up. He couldn't, Leon Edwards has this problem in the middle of fights where he gives up on himself and he just kind of gives up on the fight. He's unwilling to change his game plan. I know it worked out in the Kamaru Usman fight, guys, right? We got one of the best moments we've had in several years with the "don't let him bully you, son," and then the headshot dead and all that bullshit. And I hate to call, I hate to call someone lucky in an MMA fight. I know these guys are skilled, especially Leon Edwards, a very skilled fighter. But he kind of gave up on himself in that fight and just happened to land a big shot. That's the way I see it. Fucking crucify me, right? That's what I think happened there. But then last time out, like I said, Belal dominated him. And of course, super late in the fifth, he had himself a moment, and it looked like, it looked like maybe if he had another minute or two, he could have definitely won that fight. But of course, just too little too late. And he spent rounds just fucking sulking and being sad about losing his world title. And then against Sean Brady, Belal had a very different game plan. He just struck him. He just outstruck the guy. Showed that Sean Brady, while he is a good wrestler, is not good moving backwards. He's not good being attacked on the feet, and his striking is very fucking subpar and leaves much to be desired. So now let's get Belal out of the picture. We got these two fighting, right? Leon Edwards, the weakness for him being pressured and throwing something on it, on the feet to make him worry before mixing in the wrestling, right? We saw him stuff a lot of shots from Kamaru Usman. We saw him even take down Colby Covington late in that fight. Of course, he was stunting on Colby at that point. But really, you have to hurt Leon Edwards on the feet, or at least show that you can hurt him on the feet before you're able to take him down. Otherwise, he has phenomenal takedown defense. Now, when it comes to Sean Brady, he's going to have to be barreling forward to win fights. It's obvious that he does not like to fight on the back foot. It's obvious that he doesn't have too much in his striking repertoire besides, kind of throwing big. And while he looks like a big, imposing guy, he's not that powerful on the feet. I mean, he's got strength for sure, but he's not very powerful. Here's the way I see it, guys. I mean, it is a fucking pick'em to me, but I just think Leon Edwards has to have learned from that Bilal Muhammad fight. I think Sean Brady is a very good kind of a mirror matchup to Bilal, right? He's very similar to Bilal Muhammad, just a bit worse at everything, right? He's like if Bilal is the fucking, the A student, Sean Brady is the fucking B plus student. And I think after that embarrassing loss for Leon Edwards, and potentially, trying to get himself back to a rematch with Bilal, I think he has to have studied that tape a bunch. I think he has to know the holes in Sean Brady's game. And if Leon can finally be fucking aggressive and not give up on himself if shit isn't going his way, right? Like, where are we going to be in this fight in the second round if Sean Brady won the first round with wrestling and then happens to land himself a takedown early in the second? Are we going to see Leon fucking moping and sad and all this bullshit? I would hope not in London against against Sean Brady. It's tough to pick Leon Edwards, guys, but he is technically the way better fighter between these two. So fingers crossed, and I actually don't give a fuck who wins. So I'm not saying fingers crossed, but fingers crossed for the pick, I guess. I am going Leon Edwards by decision. Now, that being said, if Leon Edwards gives up on himself again, guys, then I don't know. This is not a guy that should be giving up on himself. This is a very, very high level MMA fighter, a former world champion, and a guy that deserved to be there, right? Yes, he got the fluky-ish knockout, but the guy deserved it. He earned it. He has earned this spot, and it'd be nice to see him win. It would also be nice to see Sean Brady, stamp his fucking number one contender fight after this, I would assume, right? So I'm going Leon Edwards at home via decision. That's it, guys. That's all I've got. My name is Dino Bam Bam. This was D107 MMA. Do me a favor. If you guys enjoyed, hit the thumbs up. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments. If you don't, I guess do that as well. I'm down to argue a little bit. You can also follow us on Instagram like the thing at the bottom says at D107 MMA. We got pictures with us and fighters there. Guys, thank you guys so much for watching.